Welcome, everybody, to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is a little bit different segment. Throughout the high school, college football year, we're going to talk about what we're going to call the Super 7. We're going to have 7 games that we're going to pick, we're going to talk about, we're going to discuss, we're going to analyze and break them down. But in week 1, really, it's week 0. They're playing, but it's called week 0 of the college football schedule. There's only 4 games. So this week, it's going to be the Fantastic Four. We're going to talk mostly about the Georgia Tech game against Florida State, but we're going to start with the 3 other games. We're going to look at those and kind of analyze them a little bit. Along with Vincent Turner, Logan Landers, I'm Harper LeBel. Welcome to the show. Vincent, we've been waiting for about 6 months for the college season to end and summer to kick in and spring ball and fall training camp. It's over now. They're playing for real.
Like the great John Ward used to say, one of the greatest announcers in college football history. When I was a little boy down in my hometown in Memphis, Tennessee, 8 years old, and I first heard John Ward, he always should have these saying, and this go for you, Mr. Jeremiah Long, because he's our other producer from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by way of Knoxville. The great John Ward used to say this: it's football time in the state of Tennessee. Well, you know what? It's football time here on 100 Yards of Football. Kick it back to you, Harper.
We've been waiting for quite a while. Logan, how about you? Certain expectations from last year. We had great joy. We also had tears. Those are all over. Now it's a new season. What are you looking forward to most this season?
Harper, it's finally here. After a long off season, we've been previewing a lot of teams in college, and we are finally at, you can quote unquote, week 0. A lot of teams have been getting a lot of really good players in the transfer portal. We've seen a lot of crazy NIL deals also take place, something brand new we've never seen before. A lot of good stuff happened, a lot of turmoil as well in the off season in college football, but we're finally here. I'm expecting a lot. And we all know, guys, a brand new college football playoff format come later on this year. I'm excited to see how everything's going to play out in this first year.
Yep, and all the hard work that guys have been doing at every different level, whether it be in the Power 5, a non-Power 5, if you're just in a school that doesn't even have any scholarships, your ability to play and the grit that it takes to get onto a field, we applaud that. We want to thank you for the efforts that you made. And we're going to talk about some games that not a lot of other people will talk about because they're important either here in the state of Georgia or just the way that the football scene, the way it grows. All right, let's look at our first game. Montana State, the Bobcats traveled to Albuquerque to play at New Mexico. Vincent, your thoughts? New Mexico hosting its first game of the season, -11 against the Montana State Bobcats.
I'm going to give kudos to New Mexico for hiring Bronco Mendenhall. Very surprised that he took that job, but he's a guy that's had success for years at BYU and did a little something when he was at the University of Virginia. But they playing a very good first team here, a team that's ranked number 4 in the FBS, the Montana State Bobcats, a team that's got a hell of a running game, 293 yards last year. And I'm going to say this: you got Julius Davis, one of the best running backs that we're going to see on any level. And then you got Tommy Metlock, the quarterback. I'm going to tell you what, this is going to be a very close football game. And Bronco Mendenhall, you better make a statement because Montana State is coming for your hard running game. And another key stat, New Mexico last year as a defensive unit gave up almost 250 yards rushing. I'm taking Montana State in a close one.
You know, you mentioned New Mexico State's defense. They averaged 35 points a game that they gave up. They were 126th in the nation in that department. They gave up a lot of points. Logan, will that affect them here on Saturday?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Harper. Obviously, week 1 or week 0 is what we're calling it. So guys aren't going to be maybe as fresh as we'd see later on in the season once they've had some reps behind them. Obviously, week 0, we're going to see some plays I'd say a lot of feeling out process for both these teams, how the coordinators are going to go into it with Montana State and the Lobos out there in New Mexico. I like New Mexico in this one. Good program. I like Devin Dampier as a quarterback. He got a little bit of work last year as a backup. We'll see how he can do coming into this scene. Like you said, the offensive line, though, a lot of it's coming in from the transfer portal. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can gel in week 0 and how that's going to work out. As for Montana State, like Vincent said, running game. They are looking good out there with the Bobcats. So I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Football on that one. Give me the Bobcats in this one. I'll go with the final score. I'll go 28-14 in this week 0 matchup. How about that?
All right, let's go to Reno, Nevada for game 2. Logan, they're fresh. They're Mustangs. They're SMU. They travel to Nevada to take on the Wolfpack. It was interesting to me. Last year, and I know this year's team isn't anything like last year's. They're going to lose some guys. The portal, you've mentioned all that. But let's give some ups to SMU. They ranked 23rd in rushing. They were 40th. I'm sorry, they're 23rd in passing. They were 40th in the nation in terms of rushing. They were number 9 in terms of points scored, 38.3 a ball game. Defensively, they only gave up 17.2. They were number 12 nationally. I think the Mustangs are going to run away with this. What are your thoughts in terms of just what do you see on the outside looking in terms of SMU minus 27 going into Nevada?
Yeah, I see pretty similar results to that, Harper. I mean, we all know that last year, SMU, really solid program all in all. Historically, they've had some really good teams. As you mentioned, they have lost some players as college football goes, but I think overall, this is still a very good team. As you mentioned, they are the heavy favorites in this, but as I say, don't turn your back on the Wolfpack. Nevada, really solid program over there as well, but I think in this first matchup of the season, I'm with you, Harper. I'll go SMU. Final score, I'll go 36-17 this matchup. Mr. Football, how do you think this is going to play out?
Nevada. Jeff Schultz, the former DC at Texas. You took a program that's not won in a long time, and I don't see y'all winning a long time in Reno, Nevada. And it's going to start out pretty bad for you Saturday night. Because you know what? This is a different SMU team. A team that's going to be a member of the ACC this year. And what I see, when you think about SMU, Pony Express, Eric Dickerson is coming back. Craig James is coming back. They got a very good quarterback in Preston Stone. A lot of people haven't heard of him. 28 touchdowns last year. Then, yes, sir, Mr. Harper.
Those the ponies. That's the ponies.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Harvey Armstrong, Wes Hopkins, Russell Carter. It's a new day in Dallas. And they got a player that I'm very close to. Remember this name right here. He's the most underrated player in the country. R.J. Maryland, tight end. Father was Russell Maryland, 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Dallas Cowboys. And his grandfather, James the Bear Maryland, was an outstanding baseball player at Southern University in the late 1950s. The SMU Mustangs are going to roll 42-10 on Saturday night over Nevada.
Well, you split on Montana State and New Mexico. Each one of you took a different team. Both of you agree on SMU at the Wolfpack in Reno. Final game that we'll look at before we go to our feature game. Delaware State, the Hornets from Delaware State. Can't travel much further than Delaware State is going to play the University of Hawaii. The Rainbow Warriors, they didn't have a great year last year. Vincent, what are your thoughts about this particular game? Does Delaware State pull an upset?
I'm going to say this about Delaware State. I read something online this morning. They missed their plane. They supposed to took a plane out of Delaware yesterday.
That's so not good to miss the plane, Vincent. You got to get on the plane in order to get there.
I don't know what type of traveling arrangement they had, but that's a problem. But they're going to arrive out there in Honolulu. And I'm going to say this. John Taylor, the former wide receiver who had an outstanding career with the San Francisco 49ers, he's not coming through that door. Head coach Lee Hall, you was 1-10 last year. And, you know, it was so really upsetting. They only averaged 13 points a game last year. You're going out to play Hawaii, a team that right now has got a lot of eyes on them. And a guy that who used to be the former quarterback, Timmy Chang. Remember when Timmy Chang was throwing for all them yards out there back in the early 2000s?
Sugar Bowl.
They said the pressure is on him. But the one thing I'm going to say about this, that I really look at this football game, is that Brandon Schrager, the Hawaii quarterback, is a 3-year starter. So seemingly Hawaii is going to have a little more offense. But they made a very interesting hiring on the defensive side of the ball. Their new D coordinator said that he's going to have them flying around like the rainbows they are. It's Dennis Thurman, USC great. I'm taking Hawaii in a big one. 42.
Logan didn't know that Delaware State is going to be sitting on the bottom of a train. They're going to be taking a bus, in back of a truck. They'll be on a skateboard once they get to the ocean, and then they're going to take a raft out to Hawaii. Didn't realize that they had that much stuff going on. Will that be a hindrance for them going out to Hawaii?
It was already going to be a tough matchup, Harper, already just prior to any travel issues with Delaware State and the Hornets. That's just added to it even more. As you mentioned with Coach Chang out there in Hawaii, bit of a down year last year, hoping to get their first winning season as a program since the COVID year back in 2020. Vincent said with Delaware State, they went 1-10 last year. So it's going to be an uphill battle. If Delaware State has any chance of winning this game, they're going to have to keep the turnovers to a minimum. And like I said, their quarterback on the year last year had 8 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Can't have that against Hawaii. Obviously, I think Hawaii is going to be the heavy favorites in this one. I expect them to roll big. I'll go the final score in this game. I'll go 56-10 Hawaii. The Rainbow Warriors taking the big win in this one.
Well, 56 points is very interesting to a team that last year they averaged 21.5. So, and the spread is 39. So they're going to need about 56 or 70 just to be able to cover the spread. It'll be interesting how that goes. But if Delaware State, nothing else, they go out to Honolulu, Hawaii, place that I'm sure hardly any of those kids have ever been a chance to go to and see. It's in a beautiful spot in the world, but a tough place to play football. All right, feature game. We're going to leave the country, and we're going to go to Dublin, Ireland. Vincent, both teams have to travel a heck of a long way. I know that the coaches have kind of shut everything down. You're dealing with 18 to 20, 21, 22-year-olds. In terms of, we're not there to go to the Guinness factory and watch them make beer. We're there to play a football game. Business as usual, or is this going to be a unique trip that ends up being a little bit different because of where it's being played and who all gets to see it?
I don't think it's going to be anything different. It's going to be a game that's going to be played like it's on the American soil. You got a Florida State team. The only bit of memory we have of them is losing the Orange Bowl to Georgia 63-3. A team that, for reasons, wanted to be in the college playoffs and should have been in the college playoffs, win their conference. Mike Norrell has done a phenomenal job. So what I'm hearing down there in Tallahassee, they're calling it the Revenge Tour. That's what this season is going to be about. And I like their football team. The only question I have, when you look at Florida State, they got talent on both sides of the ball. They went to the transfer portal and picked up some very good football players. But the one question I have about them going out through this season is the quarterback position. They went out and got DJU out of Oregon State, and he's already been in the conference with Clemson. And the reason he left Clemson because he struggled throwing the football. Look who he's replacing at the position that was so much a success last year. It was Jordan Travers, who was not only good in throwing the football, but he was good rushing the football, was a team leader. But when you look at Florida State overall, this is a team that's very deep. They got NFL talent all through their roster, and they got a lot of revenge and something they have to prove this year. Then you look on the other side of the ball with Georgia Tech. I love Brent Key. He really, to me, has saved that team right there on Northside Drive, the Yellow Jackets. Hayes King. When you look at quarterbacks that's played at Georgia Tech over the last few years, he's been the best quarterback under that position last year than what he done since Joe Hamilton was playing that position. And Haynes King, look what he did last year, 2,800 yards, 737 yards rushing, accounted for 37 touchdowns. The only thing I'm looking at in this football game, I'm going to land with this. You got both teams that look like they're going to put up a lot of points. But what defense is going to come play? Obviously, Florida State got the better defense, but I'm really seeing how Georgia Tech is going to improve on that side of the ball because they gave up 213 yards rushing. I look for it to be a very good, close football game and a high-scoring game. The Seminoles 35, the Yellow Jackets 31. It's going to be a very good football game at 12 noon on Saturday.
Wow. Logan, a chip on their shoulder, especially the way the season ending, them getting axed out of the Final Four, missing that game, having some guys not even want to play in the bowl game against Georgia. Florida State, I really like that point that Vincent made. A little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Do you agree? And if so, how do you think that affects them in Dublin?
I agree with that, Harper, 100%. I think that Florida State, they were not happy about how last season ended. Had a great year nonetheless. We spoke about on the show about how some people thought they could have made the playoffs. Some people thought they couldn't, but that is all in the past now. We're looking forward to 2024. Like you said, they're going out to Dublin, Ireland, a place where I'm sure the majority of the players and coaches have not been before. So might do a little bit of sightseeing, but overall, the main focus should be on the buzz out there, on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. If you're Florida State, if you're DJ Uyunglele and replacing Jordan Travis, who was a tremendous quarterback last year prior to his injury. Florida State, though, they did lose some good players. As we know, they lost 13 last season to either the NFL draft or guys going as UDFA. So going to have to replace some talent on both ends of the ball. And as for Georgia Tech, this isn't the Georgia Tech team we're really used to in years past. They went 7-6 last year, a commendable effort. And like Vincent said, Brent Key you're starting to see the motor turn in his head. You're starting to see the play of Haynes King. If he can keep the turnovers down, which is what he struggled with last year, if he can protect the ball and if Georgia Tech and their playmakers can come to play, I think this is going to be a lot closer game than some people might say. Yeah, you look at Florida State, they were undefeated last year. They're ranked top 10 in the league in the NCAA right now. Georgia Tech, they've got some really good talent. There could be an upset, but I think I'll go with the safe bet in this week 0 matchup. I'll go with Florida State getting the tight win, like Vincent said. I'll go my final score. I'll go 31-28, have it be a couple of points deciding this one in terms of the Seminoles and the chop in week 0.
Guys, let me ask you separately, but the same question to both. If you look at the business aspect of this, not the players, but in the athletic department, as a chancellor or president of the university, if you lose game 1, your season isn't over by any means, but your shot at getting into the playoff, which you got kicked out of last year, even though you were undefeated, does that happen again? Is week 1 that important for Florida State? We'll start with you, Vincent.
No question about it. Georgia Tech is playing with house money. Florida State must win because you've done a lot of talking throughout the summer. You brought in a lot of players. Mike Norwell said after last season, it was like a tragedy that they didn't get invited to the college football playoffs.
Yep.
You lose this football game, everybody down there at Tallahassee is going to be upset. From the alumni to you, Bobby Butler, to the alumni, Deion Sanders, to the alumni, Marvin Jones Sr., your son is going to be playing on Saturday.
Everyone in the Bowden family, they'll be mad too, won't they?
Absolutely. No question about it. Florida State must win game on Saturday.
They got a great defense. They only gave up 15.9, under 16 points a ball game. Logan, same question to you. Do they have to win because one loss that early in the season, is that going to be enough to be able to get them in?
It's going to be tough this year, Harper, as we know. As I mentioned in my opening statement, the playoff has been expanded to 12 teams now. We know the ACC, they've got some good teams, and we know Florida State is expected to compete for another ACC championship. If you lose game 1, it's not a great look. You have to come out on fire. You're going to be excited to be in a new place in Dublin. Like Vincent said, Georgia Tech is a team who they're not expected. A lot of people are writing them off. They're not even giving them a chance, really, to win this ball game. But if you really take a deep dive like we've been doing here, this is a solid program. They've been building some good pieces since Brent Key has taken over a couple of seasons ago. I think that Florida State, they're expected to win this game. They should win this game. And if they do not win this game, they're going to have to really come out week after week after week and prove that you are indeed a top 12 team going into the end of the season. So if I'm Florida State, you have to win or else you're not going to get in.
All right. Well, we know the Florida State risk on the. Well, let's talk about the reward. If Georgia Tech, remember the Paul Johnson era with Georgia Tech just a short time ago, and nothing against Coach Johnson, but the recruiting factor, knowing that some of the linemen that go there would never have a chance to go into the NFL because they were only a forward blocking team. They didn't know how to pass block, and it was a recruiting hindrance. Yes, the school, you can be smart, but we'll find a way to get some smart kids in. If they win this game, what type of effect do you think that the rest of the recruiting program can piggyback off of? Logan, start with you. Of upset victory against Florida State, how does that affect the Yellow Jackets for the rest of the year?
If they win this ball game, Harper, I think that's going to tell a lot of kids in high school, especially around the Atlanta area, because we know everyone looks at Georgia Tech as the little brother compared to UGA.
Stay here, right?
Exactly. Stay in town, go get you some varsity, and come over to the campus right there and come play with us here at Georgia Tech. But I think that if they do win this game week 1, that's going to be a statement win. That's going to say, look, it's been a couple of rough years. We did good last year, 7-6. But this is our year to say, hey, look, we're not playing in the shadows anymore. We are here, so come play for us, recruits. We're here, and we're going to make this look great here. You're going to look good out there in that gold.
Wow. Vincent, not only what a difference a day makes, but a season or 2 seasons or 3 seasons. And same question to you. How does it affect recruiting and 3 or 4 years down the road if Georgia Tech pulls what we would call an upset and beats Florida State?
All eyes in the nation is going to be looking on this program in Atlanta, Georgia. And all the recruits that's throughout this state that's going over to Georgia, maybe Alabama, that has good grades, they're going to start taking a look at Georgia Tech. And they're going to start taking a look at Brent Key. Brent Key has already ruffled some feathers by them going 7-6 last year. And the one thing that I love about Georgia Tech, while saying they're playing the house money if they win this football game, the offensive aspect. Look how good they were last year offensively. It brings back the memories of Joe Hamilton under center, the Geechee man from South Carolina when he was running the show. Georgia Tech wins this football game, the stakes get higher, and then that's an opportunity for you to do some great things. Not necessarily from a recruiting standpoint, but on a national level. You might need to start talking about college playoffs because you beat this Florida State team. You just mentioned, Harper, NFL talent all over this roster. You have made a statement. All eyes on you. Like the great Stephen Arrington. The nation is going to be watching you because there's no other game on Saturday. And they play at 12 noon. By 3:30, say Georgia Tech pulls the upset. Stephen Arrington, I'm watching you.
I think Keith Brookings and Calvin Johnson might come back on campus just to start recruiting some more kids.
There you go.
My friends. Get on the Yellow Jacket bandwagon. They were 68th passing last year nationally. They were 13th rushing at 203 yards a game, number 44 overall in terms of points per game at 31.3. The spread is 11.5. Florida State is favored to win in Dublin, Ireland. We've looked at that game, Florida State and Georgia Tech. We've taken a look at the Montana State Bobcats going to Albuquerque and facing the Lobos of New Mexico. The SMU Mustangs go to Nevada to play in Reno against the Wolfpack. And we also looked at Delaware State, where the Hornets headed out to Hawaii. And hopefully they will get a nice couple of flowers, a suntan, and a victory before they have to skateboard back to Delaware on the team bus. But gentlemen, final thoughts before week 0 officially kicks in.
College football is here. I'm very grateful. I'm very blessed. I'm going to be doing these videos with y'all throughout the college football season. I see us having a lot of fun. And all I can say, let's go get it. 100 yards of football. Very simple.
Yeah, and Vincent, whenever I woke up this morning, it was a crisp 68 degrees outside. It felt like fall football weather. I don't know about y'all, but it felt great outside.
Yes,
Let me know. You say, we're doing these college football game previews today, and I know the season is right around the corner, just a couple of days away. I can't wait until I see the ball fly through the air, see a couple of touchdowns, see some good games, see some absolute blowouts. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to cover all these games this year with you gentlemen, and it's going to be an absolute pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Well, week 0 on most calendars and through mathematics means nothing, but it has great value to us. And we're excited to be here. We're going to feature 7 games. We're going to call it the Super 7. Every week, we're going to look at a few extra games, more than what we did here today, just knowing that the rivalries, the non-conference and non-division games that are going to bring excitement, things that happen here locally, we're going to look at those as well. So we're going to feature different teams every week, and we look forward to that. This is 100 Yards of Football. I'm Harper LeBel, along with Logan Landers and Vincent Turner. We're going to bring you some of the best games that happen each and every week, and we look forward to bringing it to you. So for now, you've got the 4 that we have for this week in week 0, but next week we'll be back with our Super 7. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for attending along with us. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate it, and we need that to help us grow. So thank you so much for being a part of 100 Yards of Football.